Salutations, every pup. Welcome to the Podficker Baton Pass for Shutterbug by Iriley. The way this works is that I'm reading Chapter 2, while Dust Bunny read the previous chapter, and Evie is Evil will be reading the next chapter, passing along who will be reading Shutterbug until the podfic is finished. All that being said, let's jump right on into it. Chapter 2. Chapter Summary. When referring to bike or Jason's bike, for now until forever, I will be meaning motorcycle. Just an FYI. Moving into the kitchen, Jason looks up to see Bruce sitting on one of the stools at the island, reading a newspaper.
It seems like the gala is on the forefront of everyone's mind,
Bruce states.
It's not every day someone comes back from the dead,
Jason jokes, getting a side glance from Bruce.
I suppose not,
the older man says, as he brings the paper down to look at him. They let the silence hang in the air for a bit longer. Their relationship is still not quite like it was, the way they were before, but it's slowly getting there. Getting himself in touch with Dick had helped him sort through his thoughts while getting another side, a side of someone who went through what he did with Bruce, before stopping his thoughts. Bruce starts talking to the man alongside him once more.
I'm glad you came home. I know it couldn't have been easy after going through everything,
he says, looking at Jason, hesitant to say more. Jason just looks at him as he moves to grab a croissant from the plate on the counter, watching as Bruce backpedals. Bruce starts, getting cut off as Jason makes a show of putting his jacket on before grabbing his keys.
I'm gonna go out for a bit,
he says, turning towards the door. Bruce clears his throat, still feeling guilty.
Just make sure you're back in time for the fitting. You'll need a new suit for the gala.
Bruce called after him as he lets the door close behind him before he descends the stairs towards his bike. Climbing on and kicking the stand up, he pulls away from the manor. After driving to a nearby fast food joint and picking up some burgers, he makes his way to Crime Alley. Parking his bike in an alleyway, he moves to the park across the street where he sees a group of kids playing.
Anne, you know anyone who'd want some burgers? They gave me the wrong order,
he yells out to the older girl as she watches the kids play. Smiling as she turns, Anne waves him over before calling out to the other kids to gather as Jason makes his way over. Once close enough, Jason starts to hand out the burgers to the kids. What do you say? Anne tries to remind. Thanks! Some of the more outspoken kids yell as the quiet ones nod before they all run off to eat. I appreciate you coming down here to help. It helps more than you know. Some of these kids don't know when or where their next meal will come from, Anne says. She looks over the young kids as they eat. I get it. I used to live here.
I get it. I used to live here when I was younger.
Jason trails off, thinking back to his time on the streets and when he first met Bruce. Speaking of, he thinks as he looks at his phone, checking the time.
I've got to run, but I'll be sure to swing by soon,
Jason says, standing up. Anne follows in suit as she stands, waving as he leaves. Slipping back onto the bike and taking off back to the manor, Jason starts to think about the gala that will be held right the night after next. It'll be quite a show. Almost everyone will be there. Lots of news coverage, he notes bitterly. Never a fan of the flashing lights and the fake smiles that hide behind them. Looking up to see the manor coming into view, he drives through as the gates open before pulling into the driveway. Opening the door after shutting his bike down, Jason moves past the kitchen and towards Bruce's office, knowing the man would be found there. Walking to the room, Jason sees Bruce standing by a bookshelf. Moving to knock on the doorframe, Jason enters into the room, fully at Bruce's grunt.
The Taylors should be arriving soon. Alfred said they'd be set up in the spare room,
Bruce said, grabbing a copy of Gala Etiquette before offering it to Jason, who grabs it, offended.
Listen, Jason, about earlier.
Bruce starts off again, before getting cut off by Jason.
It's fine, old man. I get it,
he says courtly, turning to the door before walking out. A short walk down the hall shows two tailors setting up a small travel station and a stool to stand on. Looking up, the older of the two, a tall gentleman with peppered hair and a sharp goatee, smiled warmly and hands him a suit to change into. Moving behind the fold out cover and removing his clothes, he pulls on the dress pants before slipping on the white dress shirt, buttoning the shirt before pulling on the black blazer. Stepping out from the cover and to the step stool, the second tailor, a short woman dressed similarly to the older man with mid-length blonde hair, beckons him up, which he follows. After a few short moments, the pins are placed and the final measurements have been taken. Jason steps off the stool and quickly changes back into his normal clothes before handing the suit back to the tailor. Giving his thanks to the two, Jason passes Bruce as he enters for his own fitting, moving swiftly to his new room, the old one being more of a time capsule at this point, and not something he wants to open. He enters before quickly closing the door. Looking towards the bookshelf on the right of his desk before looking at the book in his hands, Gala etiquette written on the front. Sighing and sitting on the edge of his bed, he opens the book and starts to skim through. The Gala will be outside, so I can't really use most of his stuff anyway. He thinks, before closing the book and putting it to the side. Can't patrol since we have the gala in 2 days, advanced healing or not. Jason thinks bitterly. Looking at the clock, he sees a 3:25 p.m. in a green light. Thinking for a few minutes before making up his mind, Jason stands up and moves to change into his black sweatpants and red tank top before slipping on his sneakers, grabbing a pair of keys on the way. Moving out of his room and toward the garage door outside, and moving towards the garage outside, hidden a bit behind the manor but closer than the barn. Jason unlocks and opens the door, flipping on the lights to reveal his bike and a few of Bruce's cars. Grabbing the toolbox off the workbench, he makes his way to his bike. This wasn't the bike he rode earlier. This was his bike, the one he'd been making from spare parts. No one gets to work on it but him. It's his own little project. No bats, no stooping brothers or sisters. No Bruce. Hell, even Alfred only bothers him when it's time for dinner or he needs one of the cars. He smiles to himself as he moves to sit on the ground next to the bike. Using a wrench to take off the side body part, Jason got to work on fixing and fine-tuning the components underneath. Spending a bit of time on it before moving to fix the engine, Jason quickly loses himself working on it. A bit later, Jason hears a knock on the door. Yeah? Jason calls over his shoulder. Alfred soon after opens the door. Dinner is ready, Master Jason. You may want to eat while it's still hot, he says, watching Jason put the tools back into the box. That ladle ready? He questions, standing before leaning to Papa's back. Quite, and let's not forget the busy day you'll have tomorrow, Alfred reminds, getting a nod from Jason. All right, I'll be up in a minute. I just have to clean up here. Alfred nods at Jason's words before closing the door behind him as he leaves. Putting the toolbox back on the workbench and wiping his hands off on a rag next to it. Flicking the lights off on his way through, he closes and locks it before making his way back. After dinner. Dinner was uneventful, thankfully, as it rarely is. Jason quickly retreated back to his room, avoiding eye contact with Tim as he passed. They were definitely getting better, but after what Jason did to him, he doubts it'll ever be what it could have been. It had been one big wake-up call when he found out what happened between Tim and the Joker. He's proud Tim survived it, both mentally and physically. Ish. Not that he'd ever tell him that. Moving into his bathroom, he turns on the shower, letting the water get hot. Looking at the mirror, pulling his top off, he sees himself staring back. Tall, well built, black hair with a white streak in the front, and his green eyes. A low, almost buzz to them. Looking closer, though, he could see the faint J on his cheek, the few scars on his face, the edges of his irises, the same blue as before, pulled into a striking green, mocking as they stare back. Looking away as he sees a spark of green flare. Too many mirrors broken in his momentary rage. He sees a few other faint scars across his arms and side. Noticing the steam on the glass, he finishes undressing before stepping under the stream of water. Moving through the motions as he thinks about how to fix his bike's engine, and the process goes quickly, and soon he's left standing under the hot water. Sighing as he turns the water off and stepping out before grabbing a towel, wrapping it around his waist, and moving into his bedroom to get dressed. Once dressed, he lays down on his bed with a well-read copy of Pride and Prejudice. After reading for a bit, Jason looks up at the clock, seeing 10:25. Sighing before finishing his page and finding a stopping point, he puts the bookmark in and sets it back on his nightstand before rolling onto his side. Lamp now off, leaving the room in what could be complete darkness if not for the green invading his vision like it normally does in the dark. Closing his eyes, Jason tries to focus on his breathing to fall asleep. After a few minutes, he manages to drift off. Waking up with a start, Jason looks at the clock. Bright green taunting him. 3:15 a.m. Fuck, Jason says, dragging a hand down his face. Not sure what woke him, but knowing he's better off not knowing, he moves to get up, stretching his arms over his head, shoulders popping as he does. Jason walks out his room and down towards the kitchens, pausing when he sees a shorter man sitting at the island on a stool, a cup of what smells like coffee in hand and a tablet in the other. Sighing as he makes his presence known by taking the coffee before dumping it into the sink and getting annoyed "Hey!" from the man. Moving to get the kettle from the cupboard below the sink and filling it with water, Jason pulls out 2 mugs and 2 packs of chamomile tea. It's silent as the water boils, broken only by the sound of typing on the tablet. As the kettle starts to whistle, Jason quickly takes it off the burner and turns it off. There's a reason he's the only one allowed in the kitchen. Pouring the water into the 2 cups before adding the packets respectively, before rinsing the kettle out and drying it, putting it back in its original place. Grabbing a spoon and stirring the 2 mugs, Jason picks them up and places one in front of his not quite yet brother before moving to sit next to him.
You know it's like 3:30, right?
He asks, getting a grunt in return. Giving Tim a deadpan look, Tim sighs and puts the tablet down, grabbing the mug and takes a sip. Chamomile? He questions, getting a nod from the other man. You didn't chug it, did you? Tim says, squinting at the mug, earning a chuckle from Jason.
I'm not Dick, just tea leaves and water.
He says, making a show of drinking from his own mug. Giving a small smile, Tim continues to drink his tea.
Why are you even up?
Jason questions, glancing at the tablet. Working on a case. GCPD found traces of the pit where they found Bane, Tim says, looking at the file pulled up on the tablet, jumping slightly when he hears the sound of glass shattering. Shit, Tim thinks, looking at Jason as his eyes glow green for a moment, making Tim flinch. Jason grimaces and blinks, taking a second before saying anything.
Shit. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Tim cuts him off by grabbing his hand. It's fine. We need to bandage your hand, though. Jason doesn't look fooled, but nods anyway. Moving off the stool, Tim grabs paper towels and the small trash can from under the sink, grabbing the first aid kit from there as well, after placing them on and next to the island. Wiping the tea and glass off and into the trash can, Tim moves to clean off Jason's hand with a clean piece of paper towel. Jason sits on the stool, staring as Tim removes glass and wipes away the blood. Tim gently maneuvers Jason's hand around as he wraps it once, thoroughly disinfected.
Sorry,
Jason says, still staring at his hand as Tim finishes tying off the bandage. It's fine. Really. I can't say I get it, but I know you don't have total control over it. I shouldn't have mentioned it, especially when we're up this early, too tired to react how we want to, Tim says.
I should have better control over it by now. I don't want to keep hurting my family.
Jason gets cut off by Tim putting his hands over his mouth. Enough of that. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you can't control this type of thing. And that's okay. It took me a while after. Well, you know. Jason nods but looks away. The silence hangs in the air for a bit longer before Jason breaks it.
Do you need any help on the case? Or a new pair of eyes?
he asks hesitantly, asking if Tim is still comfortable with him near. Smiling, Tim moves his stool closer to Jason's as he turns, pulling the tablet in between them. Okay, so hours later, when Alfred enters the kitchen to make breakfast for the manor's inhabitants, he sees Tim and Jason asleep, slouched over the counter, tablet between them, first aid kit on Jason's right, trash can with the remains of a Wonder Woman mug and tea leaves inside, seeming to match the remains of what was in the mug on Tim's left. His own Superman mug still intact. Smiling, Alfred moves to grab a blanket before draping it across the two and snapping a picture. Author's notes. I don't know much about motorcycles, so I did what I could. Let me know if there's anything you think I could improve on, and I'll do my best to do so. Comments are welcomed and appreciated. And that's a wrap on Chapter 2. If you want to see Chapter 1, it's not on my channel. Go check out Dust Bunny's channel. That's where you can find Chapter 1. And if you're wanting to see Chapter 3, it will also not be on my channel. Check out Evie of Evil's channel, and it'll be there. Anyway, this was a sweet little chapter. We get to see Jason's point of view. We get to see Jason and Tim moment and Jason and Bruce moment, and that's really great. And sorry when I initially I did not practice voices for this at all. So the voices are being reused from My Hero, but also at the same time I accidentally snuck Sirius in there, and so Bruce sounded a little British in the beginning. My bad. But I will try and fix it in the future. And I'll try to make him like a toned down All Might. Or like a mix between All Might and Aizawa. I don't know. I'm gonna practice voices in the future. Sorry. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. Please go show Iriley some love, and please leave me a comment. I love reading comments. They make me so happy. Please leave me specifically hate comments, and I'll shout you out in the next chapter I'm doing, which will be chapter 10. Before I end this video, I want to dedicate this video to my late uncle. Yesterday, May 9th, is the 2-year anniversary of my uncle's passing, and I love him a lot, and I just wanted to dedicate this to him. I love you, Uncle Shane. Okay. All that being said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye, pups!